I'm going to explain something about Materia, and then I'm going to tell you all about materials which are suitable for the yachting industry and also for architecture and design, or all kind of other techno transfer materials which you can use and learn from each other. So Materia is the global network in the field of innovative materials. What we do, we select worldwide innovative materials and we publish them on a website, we show them on exhibitions. And what we do, our aim is to stimulate the use of innovative materials in the built environment. And how do we do this? We do this by connecting the creative professional with the industry all over the world. For instance, by the website, if you subscribe on the website, you can see all the materials that we publish over there. It's for free. And we have now more than 100,000 members who are looking for these materials. Every day a new material is added to it. Articles, so if you're looking for lots of inspiration, you can come over there. It's a very variety of professions which I have subscribed. Not only architects, designers, also naval architects, but also the creative professionals from car industry, from airplane industries, kitchen industries, Apple, you name it. All the samples that we collect for the materials that we think are interesting for the future and for creative professionals, we organize exhibitions which travel all over the world. We are invited by fairs, by big events to organize these exhibitions. MaterialXperience on tour. We have our own big fair here in the Netherlands. It will be on 9 to 13 February in Utrecht next year. It's huge. It's something like that you see here, but that much bigger, and it's a real big party time. And we also have it here at the Mets to connect the creative professional of the yachting industry with the normal industry. We publish books. You can purchase our latest book over at the Bali over there. So what I would like to discuss with you today is how can we learn from each other? What kind of materials are we used to as architects and designers just normal on land, and what materials can be used in the yachting industry, and what can we learn from each other? Perhaps we are developing in the same industry, or which we can use in the other industry. So what's going on and how can we learn from each other? So first of all, I would like to make some comparisons between those two areas. Of course, this is in modern architecture, and this is of course the Venus, one of the most minimalistic yachts there are, done by Philip Stark for Steve Jobs. And you can see here the comparison between the old kind of yachting with all those details on it, with all those fancy stuff put on the yacht, and the Venus was absolutely minimalistic. You can really compare this with the very minimalistic architecture, of course. It's not only what we see, what is happening, but also all the engineering, all the electricity, all the water pipes, the air pipe, the ventilation pipes in a ship, and it's of course the same thing happening in a building. The only thing is that in a ship it's more authentic. You are kind of an authentic house, and because the house has also connection with land and with the sewage and for electricity and for water. It's depending on land, and the ship is not. This is a concept boat from Fat Ship. They call it the Royale. It's kind of a concept yacht for our Queen and King of the Netherlands. And you can see that the use of glass is huge. I did understand that the innovation of glass used in yachts is some high topic. And you can compare it with normal architecture. It's more and more actually a floating house. This has nothing to do, no images with the old-fashioned yachts anymore. And even the interior looks more like a ballroom than a normal yacht. It's huge, and a lot of glass also, which is strange, of course, because a yacht wants lightweight materials, and glass is not particularly lightweight. even the use of green facades is used also for the yachts. If you talk about an orthotic, a standalone unit just on the sea, it would be great if you can create your own energy, your own water, you can use your own garbage. So what would the real orthotic yacht look like? And of course, this is a Wally yacht. The yachts are more and more look like a building, like this is like a copper facade, and you can more see that it's a building floating on the sea. Okay, about materials. What's happening in the the architecture on land? Nowadays, these are two figures who illustrate the use of materials. And it's actually the comparison of the minerals versus the bio-based materials. So you can see that in the future or in the past we used a lot of bio-based materials like wood and of course everything that came from nature. And more in the years we became to use steel, we became to use plastics, we became to use concrete. So more and more materials which are not natural based are used, and these are sources of materials which are ending. Just like the problem in the energy, we have to use more and more renewable energy sources, but also this discussion is going on about materials. And you can see that the use of bio-based materials is now a huge topic on land. I cannot see that just in ships. I can see all the GRPs, the glass reinforced plastics in ships, but I would like to stimulate the use and the choice of bio-based materials and renewable materials in everything that you are doing. For instance, the engineering of wood is a very big topic too, because wood of course can do some things but cannot do some other things too. It cannot be lightweight by instance, or it cannot be flexible by instance. But if you are able to CNC mill it, then you are able to make flexible wood. We have some samples over there too. Or you can use the lignin of wood, and they are able to make some kind of plastic, and you can use it as plastic, you can form it as plastic, but you can it's just lignin. It's based on wood-related sources of materials, so it's fantastically bio-based. Dendrolite, this is a fantastic, again, CNC mill technique. Normally this piece of pine is, well, it has its own weight, but if you are CNC milling it, then you are able to reduce it with half its weight, but it remains the strength. You can keep doing it with it what you always did. So you're minimizing this material. You can use this CNC milling technique also for other kinds of materials, of course. Modified wood. One of the biggest problems on land of wood is that it rots. It's been eaten by microorganisms. So Accoya has done a little trick. They say, okay, we are going to change this, the part of the molecule that's eaten by microorganisms, and we're going to put it in an acid, and then, well, the molecule will change, so the microorganism doesn't want it anymore. So in this case, you are able to upgrade normal, cheap, fast-growing pine into hardwood, and we all know that the use of hardwood is an issue. So the use of really fast-growing materials like bamboo, like pine, what can we do to upgrade the quality of that without using heavy metals and poison, etc., to make it durable? Combination of materials. This is a flexible kind of, well, it's nothing more than an aluminum honeycomb structure, which is able to bend with a flexible veneer over it, so you can make wooden structures which are light but also flexible. It's the same thing here. This wood is treated so you can bend it in all kinds of forms. Luminoso is translucent wood. I don't know how far you know what you know about translucent concrete. Who have heard about translucent concrete? You're all ship people or what? Okay. Luminoso actually is translucent wood, and it's made in the same way how translucent concrete has been made. We have an example over there, and it's made by adding layers of glass fibers in the material. And the glass fiber, or it's a plastic fiber, is able to transmit the light, so you can make translucent materials. And this is very fancy stuff. So we have chosen for this exhibition materials which are lightweight for constructional use, but also have a very high luxurious kind of performance, because in yachts, and especially super yachts, you want to have something really special. Not only engineered wood is very trending topic, but also the use of other kinds of bio-based materials like cork. Cork is a huge industry in Portugal. It used to be a big industry for the wine bottles. 100,000 people in Portugal are depending on this industry. But since Australia and also Europe and the Western world is using screws for those wine bottles or plastic corks, this industry has a problem and is absolutely looking for other interior or architecture purposes to use their cork. The fun thing of cork is fantastic material. It's flexible, it's waterproof, it doesn't burn because it's normally the natural protection of the cork oak. And this oak is growing its cork by every bushfire in Portugal. That's the reason why it has so many cork. It's flexible, it's water resistant. And you can also, if you put it in a microwave, then it will behave itself like popcorn, so it can be twice its volume. And you are able to, and here you can see this is done in Belgium. And you can use it as an insulation material, but also as a damping, vibration damping material. So this is just cork, which became twice its volume and extra flexible by using or putting it in the microwave. And of course we know cork, using it on decks. It's a bit ridiculous because you do not need those black seams, of course, because this is just an old way how you use the teak, and you have to use those rubber seams. So why won't you just make one big tapestry of cork on your yachting deck? But perhaps this is the next phase. Perhaps we are not ready to use this material in the way it should be treated. Bamboo, one of the flexible and most fastest growing natural grasses there are. Hugely popular, especially in this bio-based discussion. Bamboo itself is not very durable, or not very, it cannot do a lot. It has a terrible value of how it relates to the outside environment. It rots away immediately, so you have to do a lot with bamboo to make it, to upgrade its properties. But you are able to press it, and you can make, by pressing all those fibers into a really solid panel, you are able to make windows and outdoor use panels and facade cladding for it. You can use the fibers in a composite for decking, and you can do a lot if you just know how to treat this material. But the source is fantastic because, of course, it grows so fast. Paper, how to build with paper and cardboard. Of course, the Japanese architect Shigeru Bon is a famous architect who is able to build with cardboard tubes and packaging material. He started to do this to make very cheap and fast houses for the people without houses when there was a flood or there was some kind of natural disaster. But now he's becoming famous by also making really good big architecture with this. Of course, it's not a very material which the first thing you should think of by building, because it has to be treated against, of course, moist, against water, against fire, because all the things that you want from a building material, it is not in the cardboard naturally. And it's really a packaging material, but if you use it an intelligent way, then you can use it for a lot of things, for instance, for a boat. So Philip Jonker wanted to make his boat by cardboard, and this is what he did. He built it totally of cardboard by honeycomb structures, and this is it. It's a fantastic boat. He was floating, I think, to London, and he made a huge trip, and this boat still exists. And of course he had to cover it in some kind of polyurethane spray coat, but the total structure is made by cardboard. So you are able to make a yacht or a super yacht of cardboard, whatever you want. Very bio-based, very good, very sustainable. Look at that. He based this ship on a drawing of some old boat. That's why it looks so old-fashioned. But it's really very strong and Megapore coating on it. New garbage. This is within the sources of new materials. We are more and more looking at garbage, and actually that's the leftovers from the normal industry. And what can we do? This is newspaper wood. It's actually newspapers that are rolled and pressed into a big kind of tree, and then they cut out those panels out of it. And it's actually the other way around, from the tree to the newspaper, from newspaper again to some kind of panel. Husk, the leftovers from nuts, all kinds of nuts. This is the macadamia nuts, so the shells of the macadamia nuts are used and grained, and some resin is added to make this material. So imagine it's all in Asia, all the nuts that we eat, all the shells of all the nuts are in Asia, and this is a huge source of material, bio-based material, which we can use. We also have a panel made of peanut shells, and well, imagine all the shells that there are. For instance, this is a material that you also can use for outdoor use, and it's made by almond shells. Again, a resin is added to it, and it has a very fine liquid, yogurt-like liquid substance, which is able to take all the details very fine. So you are able to make a leather look or very detailed surfaces, but also very soft and high gloss surfaces. I thought this was interesting to compare it with the yachting and the boating industry, because you all actually normally you are using the GRP, so the glass reinforced plastics, sometimes metal, sometimes aluminum, but more new materials for the construction of boats is not really happening. And this is a pavilion of 3XN, and they wanted to make a pavilion totally made of bio-based materials, bio-based resins, and also added a lot of smart properties added to it. So piezoelectric cells which generate energy when you are jumping up and down in this pavilion, and some super coating which makes all the water go down. And they tried to make this construction, and they started to go to the YEC, the big composite fair in Paris, and they found a lot of natural fibers. They used cork instead of glass fiber, and they tried to make a total bio-based construction. This looks a little bit like a yacht to me, a little bit 3D form, and you can do it the same trick, I think. So I'm really curious in how far the yachting industry or the boating industry is starting to use the sustainable materials and techniques. This is pure. We have some elements over there in the exhibition, and it's a polyethylene material. It's a mono material, so it looks a lot like carbon fiber with a resin, but it's totally a mono fiber, and it has a huge impact when you hit on it. So it's also made for protection gear, and for instance this Tumi suitcase which you can throw with it and nothing happens. It's a very strong material, and it's totally recyclable because it's just polyethylene. New techniques, instead of just a layer up technique, This is a blow technique by Oscar Cheta, and it's a fantastic technique. While you have to compare it with pumping up the tire of your bicycle, but instead of just rubber, you're using metal sheets, and you weld them, and then you pump it up, and under the pressure, this total construction appears, and it is very lightweight and very strong. So these are the blades of a windmill made by this technique. This is how it works, just like tires of your bicycle. And he's also able to make a bridge, so it's not only for fancy chairs, but also for a bridge. So I can imagine to have kind of a blow-up yacht by this material. 3D printing is, of course, a huge topic all over the world. It started in the medical industry just to make parts of bodies which were disappeared, and then for prototyping, but now all the techniques are so grown that it's now not only for prototyping but also a real manufacturing technique. This is a chair for one of the yachts. It's done by Freedom of Creation. It's cost 20,000 euro a piece. So the yachting industry is very, very strange world. It's all, the money is no problem at all. So you can find things and materials over there which in normal architecture is absolutely not necessary. We get questions from naval architects, and they see a material on the website. You say, "Oh, I think this is nice. How much does it cost?" And I say, "Well, it's quite expensive. We don't sell the stuff, but I know that it's about 750 euro square meter." "Oh, no, it's not possible. It has to be 1,000 at least." So these are the clients for yachts and for Dubai kind of chics. And this is a project of Lilian van Daal. We have this chair over there. She wanted to make a flexible chair construction with hard materials. So she made a lot of samples. They are over there too. It's just hard material, but the configuration, it's based on biomimicry. So the natural structures which are able to make the stuff flexible, like your bone structure, for instance. It's a very beautiful thing. It's very fragile. And it's taken a few days to print this thing, but it's flexible when you press on it, but the material itself is hard. So, and absolutely lightweight. 3D printing also for architecture. This is from Enrico Dini, who wanted to print houses with a natural stone powder and a resin. But it is grown into a huge industry now. And we are all fantasizing for what kind of architecture and what kind of forms are we able to make when this 3D printing is really becoming accessible for everybody. And the Chinese, this is a 3D printed boat. It happened before also in the States by students, but the Chinese are copying everything, so immediately they printed also this boat. This is a 3D printed design yacht by Zaha Hadid. It's an architect which is very famous by the organic architecture that she makes. It's well, you can question the functionality, but it certainly gives a big wow factor in Saint-Tropez if you come with this, I think. So this is for the people who want something special. You can 3D print also airplanes. There's nothing strange about this. This is a canoe. This is the guy who wanted to make his own canoe with not in just one piece, but in parts. So he 3D printed the part like a Lego block, and he put them together and made his own canoe. The 3D printing houses, again, the Chinese have copied this this technique, which started in the States and done by Enrico Dini, and they are able to print 10 houses a day. Don't look at the architecture because it's a ridiculous form. If you look at what 3D printing is about, you are able to make the most fantastic organic forms with tools which normal tools are not able to do, and then they just do this. So this is, it has to evaluate a lot. This is a bench 3D printed. And here is again this 3D printed boat. Well, it's a small one, but imagine what we can do with that. This is made by a company RoboFold. So not only 3D printing, but also all kind of computerized techniques like CNC milling, but also robotized building constructions. And in this case, it's a robot who is folding structures. So it's very fascinating because we all know that origami is a fantastic folding structure which enables you to make lightweight structures on lightweight cores because the construction is totally made by the configuration. And this robot is able to form in metal the most complex forms that you can see, just like this. It's not that tricky or strange. It's done in every automotive kind of industry, but they are just making architectural forms. But I can also imagine that they make lightweight structures for the yachting industry. This is a part of the translucent concrete I was talking about. Look on. This is again this glass fiber in this concrete. Of course, a stupid thing to use in a yacht, but they are able to make a veneer of it. It's still ridiculous to use it then in a yacht, I think, just like using natural stone in the floor of an elevator. It's also, what are we doing? But all right, if you want to have this fancy stuff in your yacht, you can do it on a lightweight manner. This is a part of the kinky materials, the really fancy bling bling stuff. This is an anecdote I heard. It's about looking at the Christina O. It's the yacht of Onassis. And you see the bar, and the stools around this bar were cladded with leather. And but it was not just leather, it was leather of the foreskin of a whale. So every time when all those beautiful ladies were on these chairs and he told them, okay, it's actually penis leather, then, oh, okay, Onassis, this is fantastic. And in the very fancy leather industry, we have also very exotic, we don't have this one, it does exist, but it's whales and they are protected and we don't do that. But you can make leather of everything. We have here in the Netherlands an artist who's making leather from the intestines of horses and cows and everything that we just throw away or make cat food of it. She's making leather. So imagine what you can do with natural sources again and how you can use it. It's called Minkadork, this foreskin leather. And Schroelirecht is, for instance, a Iceland designer who is using this because it's the whale fishermen who come and have this stuff with them, but it's very expensive too. This is a veneer of natural stone. Again, okay, why should you use it? But if you want to have the look and the feel of natural stone, you can use veneer. And you can make actually also clothes with it, so, or you can wrap a book, or you can make shoes with it. It's so flexible and it's really genuine natural stone. Thorn D is it looks like a tapestry, but it's an anti-fouling, it's not a coating. Normally we use anti-fouling coating, but this is a hairy kind of material which you stick under your boat, and then you can see the difference between, does it work? Okay, between this one, this has not been protected, and this has been protected, so you can use it for years and years without coating it again and again. So it's more used in big ships, otherwise it's perhaps too expensive, but it has a bit the same idea of, and it's normally they think, okay, isn't it negative for the speed of the ship, but it has the same effect as the shark skin. So if you just have a little of relief on your surface, then you're able to go faster than if you are really very smooth. And then we have some smart materials. Smart materials is also really important, starting to become important in design and architecture. Smart materials are able to react on the changes of the environment, so it can change color when the temperature is changing, it can generate energy Solar cells, for instance, are just smart materials. You can use the piezoelectric cells to generate energy. So smart materials are already used a lot in ships, also on the hull of the ship, because you can generate the energy to it, but it's also used in motors and anti-thrilling. This is just a few of my last pictures, and of course this is the ultimate synergy between floating and sailing and just living a normal architecture. It's a house on the water. Here in the Netherlands we have a lot of houseboats. It's a big tradition. They used to be very cheap because normally you were living in a houseboat when you didn't have money, but now they are very expensive because we only have 10,000 pieces in the Netherlands, spots where you can use your houseboat. No more places are given away, and everybody wants to live on the water in a free house. So this is a really very Dutch thing. Here it's going to its place. They are made in big halls. So this is the ultimate synergy between architecture and the yachting industry, and I would like to thank you for your attention.